Welcome to the PD Pet Care Vlogs. I'm Dr. Cath Watson, and today I'm going to talk to you about pheromones and whether they work. First of all, what is a pheromone? So pheromones are chemical signals that are produced by one organism, like a cat or a dog, to bring about change in the behaviour in another organism, usually of the same species. This is not aromatherapy, so this is not scents. When a scent is detected, then it usually triggers a conscious response from the animal. A pheromone is a much more unconscious response. Pheromones are detected by the vomeronasal organ, which lives between the roof of the mouth and the nose, and then they trigger the amygdala in the brain, so that's a specific part of the brain that triggers an unconscious response. There's no systemic effects from pheromones, so generally there's no side effects other than potentially changing the behaviour, and mostly that behaviour with pheromones is either to deter or to have a calming influence, and mostly it's all about the calming influence. So generally pheromones, although we don't know for certain, but we're pretty sure pheromones are safe for use in any age, any type of animal, whether they're unwell or healthy, because like I say, there's no systemic effect there. Now, pheromones generally don't cause any conscious response from the animal. They're often detecting them without consciously knowing that they're detecting them, but sometimes we do see a conscious response, and it's usually to trying to get more of that pheromone into that vomeronasal organ, and it's called the Flehmen response. I'm sure you've seen lots of funny pictures of animals doing the Flehmen response, but basically it's when they pull their upper lips back, often extend their head a little bit, and may even do a little bit of licking. And there's lots of funny pictures out there of horses and dogs and cats doing it. And like I say, it's to try and get more of that pheromone in. So what about the use of pheromones from a commercial perspective? Generally we're talking about pheromones that have been copied, so they're not pheromones that are taken from an animal, but they have been chemically reproduced to be identical to those ones an animal may produce, and they've actually been used for a very long time, for centuries in fact. So some examples for you that you may not think of where pheromones are involved: when we have lambs that are orphaned because mum has died for whatever reason, then survival for that lamb either means bottle feeding them or trying to convince another ewe to take that lamb on. So pheromones are used either by rubbing the scent of the dead of the ewe's live lambs on that orphaned lamb, to try and get the ewe to accept the lamb as her own. Pheromones have also been used for quite a while now commercially for helping reduce stress in fish farms, and also in various other forms of agriculture, from pigs to chickens to cattle as well. More recently they've become available for use in cats and dogs. So I guess really what we want to know is, do they work? So I guess the first question is, why do we want them to work? So the main reason they've been developed for cats and dogs is to try and help them feel more comfortable in an environment that perhaps they're not otherwise. So thinking things like thunderstorms, very anxious dogs in particular. So do they work? Well, the short answer is yes, but actually it's proportional to the environmental stimulus that you're trying to reduce for them. So they're not going to fix poor husbandry. They are much better used in combination with other management tools, so things like behavioural modification, potentially other medications, and those sort of things. So the other really important thing is that if you're going to use pheromones, that they need to be used properly, and that means following the manufacturer's recommendations, because that's what the testing's been done on to make sure that they work. So that's making sure that you're, for things like plug-in diffusers that help diffuse pheromones around the room, that you're using the appropriate number or type of diffuser for the room that you want it to be in. And if you're using the likes of the spray-on ones, that you're using an appropriate dose for the type of animal that you're trying to treat, but also that you're using the correct pheromones, because obviously cat calming pheromones are going to be different to dog calming pheromones, so there's not much point using the same for both. So hopefully that helps. Not necessarily a straight answer, but pheromones do their work, absolutely. Have we got them completely right as far as our copies of them? They seem to be pretty good, but are they going to work on their own all of the time? No, you need to set your expectations as to what you want those pheromones to achieve, and make sure that you put the other things in place to help them do their job as well.